Welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesdays, where I share conversations that I have with successful women, all answering the same questions. And then we simply chat it up a bit. You get to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. I'm excited to share today's conversation with Anabell Arias, a licensed therapist and clinical social worker who's passionate about helping women and professionals heal, grow, and thrive. Anabell is the kind of woman who brings leadership and genuine care everywhere she goes, because she just doesn't show up for the moment. She partners in building spaces where women can be real, honest, and authentically themselves. In the final episode of this season, season 2, welcome to my chat with Anabell. Yes. Well, welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesdays.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. I think this is really amazing. I was looking at your past videos. So is this like a new season that you're kind of creating? Okay.
This is season 2.
Oh, I love that. Love
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes.
What's different? What's different or what's your intention with season 2?
Season 2 is a continuation basically of season 1, and we're going a little bit deeper on some of the topics. And so I
Okay.
always like to find out what path it takes and who responds to the invite.
Yep. I'm just putting my phone on Do Not Disturb so it doesn't
Okay.
come into the screen. All right.
Okay, you
Well, I'm
ready?
ready. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Well, what is quality of life to you?
So, the quality of life for me is really just kind of diving into my passion. I feel like that's a big part of my life, just in general. And so, anytime that I can figure out like who I can help or how I can show up for whether it's my family or whether it's my clients, that seems to be really important and really like lights up my life.
What does that look like for you?
It looks like, so funny enough, right now, what it looks like is we're actually creating a nonprofit, me and my husband. And so really understanding like what is our biggest mission with that and where do we want to bring the biggest purpose. And really we want to do it with the younger generation. I've been helping women for most of my career. And now being able to kind of go back to the roots of like it starts with they're the future, right? It really starts with them. And so yeah, diving into the nonprofit world and like doing it with my husband, I think brings me so much purpose and it really brings the quality to my life.
Yes. Share a little bit more about what does that do for you and with you, and how does that equate to quality of life for you?
Yeah, I think like I said, it just gives me a sense of purpose. Like a lot of my life, I've been through a lot of trauma. So a lot of my life has just kind of been struggle and challenge and difficulty. And in what was it, the year of 2017, I almost died. I got into a really terrible accident where I fractured a lot of broken pieces, and the doctor didn't think I was going to make it. And so since then, I kind of made it a point of like the way that I live my life, it has to be really meaningful. And I know that's really deep, and I know that's really like,
Oh,
you
we're
know,
going there. Let's do
we're
it.
going there. So I feel like being able to live my life and like my life matters. And so how can I make other people's life matter too? Is on a spiritual level, that's really important to me.
Yes. Well, even though you were going there immediately, you were actually responding to the next question before I even officially asked it, which is how do what does that look like in your everyday life? And we'll go back to that in a second. And but thank you for sharing that, because I know that not everybody wants to jump from the gate and just be like, hey, so here's the door. I'm just going through it.
Yeah.
Here's what's inside of me. It's one of the things that I appreciate about you is because you are literally so authentic. And I connect with people who have the ability to immediately go there. Let's just go there. Let's just go deep. Let's just do it. Let's go. Yeah.
hmm Yeah.
Okay, so where do you find yourself being challenged to incorporate and live out your version of quality of life?
I think like now the stressors are different, right? They're not like these traumatic, overwhelming experiences and breaking generational trauma. Like now I think it's just day-to-day stressors that can get in the way of making me feel like my life has quality and I'm able to tap into that purposeful, driven mindset. Um, Financial stuff, right?
Mm,
Relationship stuff, family stuff, where just, a couple days ago, we've had family members who've been struggling. And so that has taken my attention. We're moving in a couple weeks. Like that pulls me away. So I think just the day-to-day challenges and stressors pulls me away, which can create burnout, right? And you talk a lot about
mhm,
that. And
mhm.
so when we're constantly having things on our to-do list and it pulls us away from the thing that actually lights us up and makes us want to like get up in the morning, it is hard to tap back into that.
It is. Yeah. And especially for those of us who are really driven by connection with other people and want to be in a place of service, it's very easy to be going to the direction that is in the opposite direction of where we're trying to go because we care for people and we want to show up for them and with them and offer what we have and what we can to help people out.
Yeah. And like to connect, you need energy, right? And so if you're already being bombarded by like all the other things, and there is no energy to
Hmm.
connect.
Hmm. Yes. So how do you combat that?
Yeah, I'm really good at taking care of myself. I will say that. I think
Ooh,
I've
tell us
built, yeah.
more. Tell us more.
I think I've been able to really build in. This is a big part of what I teach my clients is just like being aware of what your window of tolerance is. And basically it's identifying like how much stress can you tolerate at a time? Because if you go beyond that threshold, it's going to put you in that burnout phase. And so the minute I start feeling like I'm tired, I'm not fully connecting, I'm too tired to like eat a healthy meal, I'm too tired to like wash my face right before I go to sleep,
Yeah.
right? Like all these little things that are super important. The minute that starts falling to the wayside, I know that I need to pull back and scale back. And sometimes that just means saying I can't and saying no. And taking naps throughout the day, not feeling guilty for it, right? Or
Yes.
whatever it is to get me back to a state of I can think clear and I have energy. I would say that I've built up the confidence in that.
Mm-hmm. I always encourage my clients to do the things that you're actually doing, which is great. I love how we're parallel
Yeah.
in what we do and who we really want to help. And but the other thing that I also talk about is support systems. So what kind of support systems have you been able to put in place? Because, it's so easy to say, yes, I'm going to go ahead and take care of myself and stop and take the nap and all that. But I have found that if I don't have the right supporting players in my life, I'm like a fish trying to go upstream and fighting against all the needs of everybody. How about you? What's your support system look like?
I love that you brought that up. So I think personally, I have a good support system. My husband really steps in when like I'm too tired or like I need XYZ. So he's been like the 50% when I'm at 50%, right? I have a really great family support system, my mom, my sister. So in that state, I'm good. I think my weakness right now is professionally, I don't have a good support system. And what I mean by that is if I stop working, then I'm not making money, right? Like I can't fully take a step back in my business. There's not other things running it. So I would say that feels very weak right now.
Mm-hmm. That's a good awareness. That's a good
Yeah,
awareness. And something that, without that awareness, we can't really do much about.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So we've covered what is it to you, how do you live that out, and what are you challenged? So I think we are record time. We did that so fast, the first three questions. So what this means is we get to talk about anything that we want now.
Okay. I love that. Bring it
Well,
on.
I just recently attended one of your virtual workshops and it was very powerful. And it was the workshop that I'm referring to is the one where you're talking about attachment styles.
Yeah.
And you shared some stories about yourself that I've interacted with you kind of touch and go and on and off for a little while now, and I didn't know those things about you. So some of those things that you shared, about your personal life and what really helped you change some of the ways that you were operating, whether you were aware of it or not. And so, also, by the way, if you ever see Anabell promoting any of her workshops, you need to sign up immediately.
Thank
It's
you.
so good. I've been doing a lot of this, trauma work myself, and I still had some takeaways and some things that I'm able to kind of to put in my back pocket. So I
Uh-huh.
say all that to say, would you like to share a little bit about anything about your history and about your past that really has helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many like phases of my life. I think there was like my childhood phase where I lost a lot. I went through a lot of loss. My parents got divorced when I was really young, and I lost my brother when I was 11 years old to gun violence in the most tragic way possible. So I think like as a young girl and as a child, I just kind of had to go through life dismissing a lot of that and being like, oh, okay, we gotta, my mom was a single mom. And so she was like, all right, we gotta go to work the next day. Like, yeah, this terrible thing happened, but I have to go to work, right? And you have to go to school. And it was like, oh, okay, we just gotta
Yeah.
continue our life, right? And so at the time, there was no quality of life. It was literally survival. You had to just
Mhm.
keep going, right? And so as I got older, and really it wasn't until I hit 20 26, which was not that long ago. I'm 33, okay? So
Like you're 28 now. What are you
in
talking about?
in the last what in the last 8, 10 years, right? In maybe a decade is when I've been able to actually create quality of life and create a life that I feel really good about, that I'm happy, that I have a sense of fulfillment because for that first part of my life, it was tragic. There was a lot of tragedy.
hmm Yeah, and so I often hear the other side of the path, and a lot of times when we share our stories, we're like, yes, we made it, went to the other side. But I think one of the things that isn't talked about enough, and but I know you talk about it, is what the path and the journey takes to get there. Because it's not a magic wand, and there's no quick fix, and it's really is a journey.
Yeah.
So what would you offer to as encouragement or as feedback or anything to those of us who we're on this path and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get there. When am I ever
Yeah.
gonna get there?
Yeah. I would say to not dismiss the past, that like you have a story and it's in there. The way that we show up now, the negative beliefs that we have, the struggles that we're dealing with, there's usually some history behind that. And that's not to say just because you identify it, it changes everything,
Right.
but it does give you it defines who you are, and it doesn't have to be your legacy. So our nonprofit, just to kind of plug this
Oh
in
yeah,
there,
do
our non
it.
our nonprofit is called Legacy Breakers, and it's actually the opposite of what you hear, right? You should be wanting to create a legacy, but when you've been
Mhm.
passed down a legacy that has been filled with trauma and negative beliefs and doubt and low confidence, you want to break that, right? And so now you're in this new phase of like you're breaking legacy and creating a new one. So that's what I would say to people is figure out what the legacy that was passed down to you and begin breaking it by different resources, reaching out to Chelsea and creating, a quality of life and really working with someone that knows how to guide you in that.
Yes, because a lot of times you do bring up a very amazing and powerful point of like a lot of times you're like, what legacy are we building for somebody else, for the next generation?
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a reality to let's break some of those legacy chains that we are walking around with. I always have this visual, and one time I gave a talk about what chains are we still wearing that were given to us that we're not even we've got them like dangling from us, and we're wondering why when they're on our ankles, why is it so hard to walk forward? Because we're wearing all of this
Yeah.
proverbial chains. And I don't know about you, but what I have found is the legacy the shedding the legacy and healing from the legacy is not a one-stop shop,
Yeah.
especially when we come from families that are different cultures and intermixing of races, and there's so many things that were inherently just kind of passed down
Yeah.
that one sometimes I identify one thing heal through that. And I'm like, oh, and then there's this other thing,
Yeah. Yes.
which is to promote a growth mindset because we're never going to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's something that I know that you do is you are always promoting a growth mindset, even just the way that when I interact with you, how you encourage us as women. So Annabelle and I met from a networking event, and
Yeah.
she and another woman, Nicole, they lead this beautiful, beautiful networking event for women. It's called Bestiepreneurs. And it is such a supportive and encouraging group of women who are all on a different part of their journey of being an entrepreneur. And you all have fostered such this path that has been so meaningful to a lot of us that are really trying to connect and link arms with each other and build strength and find ways to connect as we grow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying all that to say, sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent.
No, I
I was
love it.
saying
Thank
that
you
for
for
a
mentioning
reason.
our group.
I know, but I was saying all that to say that you are of a growth mindset and you encourage us in that even when you're not saying those words, you encourage that for us and with us just by holding a space for us to meet and some of the questions that you encourage us at, like our exercises and because we're not done yet.
Right. Yeah, and I love that you mentioned like, yeah, there's layers to growth, right? And no one program is going to completely change your life. Why? Because there's always something else, like you said, that comes up. You're entering a new phase, a new relationship, a new job, a new
Yeah.
career, like whatever that is, right? There's going to be things that kind of come up. And so I've gotten asked the question of like, well, what really helped you? Like, how did you heal? And I would say a big part of that was EMDR, obviously, because that is something that that's a modality that I use and I feel really strongly about. But it wasn't just EMDR, right? Like it
Yeah.
was therapy, it was coaching, it was support groups, it
Mhm.
was, other women who just inspired me. So it's not just one thing. There's
Right.
always so many other things that really build us and strengthen us. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that like our group has is an is something like that for you as well. I think that's really beautiful.
Yes, I think it speaks a testament to you living your quality of life because you are literally building the thing that you said, which
Yeah.
is an offshoot. It's not your one and only thing, but it's an offshoot of who and how you want to live your life in quality. So,
Mm.
well
Thank you.
done.
Yeah, yeah, quality. And, outside of like just like the passion stuff, I think another quality of life has been my relationships. Like I'm someone who describes herself as like an extrovert. I really feed off of people's energy. When I'm by myself for too long, my mind starts spinning, right? I'm like, okay, I need to be around other people. So I think that has been like another piece of quality of life is just being around other people that really like light me up and nourish me. And I feel like without that, my life would not be the same.
Yeah, it took me so long to figure that out. I don't know why, and I think part of it was because it was how I was raised and some of the things that I globbed onto to be acceptable and to gain love. But it really has for me been the last few years ish, probably a little
Mhm.
bit more than that. But that I've really been cultivating this community of really supportive people and equally giving and taking and people. And that I personally have experienced exactly what you're saying, which is, the importance of that. And so you're one of the other people that I have had on here that identifies as an extrovert.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? You said you did
So
mention,
the
sorry,
way,
that you get refilled by that, but how else does that look for you?
yeah, I mean, I when I think of extrovertedness, I think of someone who is their energy is very big. Like not only do they receive energy, but their energy is very big. And so sometimes if I'm not around people who can either is are they okay with big energies? Or they are very similar to me in having big energy, then I think sometimes that can feel very underwhelming to me. Like it almost makes me feel like I don't belong or like I'm not a part of. So quick example, I'm actually seeing my sister today, and my sister has a bigger, I don't know if that's a word, but like more bigger energy than me. Her energy is just really, really high. My mom is the same way. I think it's a cultural thing too.
I
I'm
was going to bring that
Hispanic,
up. Yep.
and our family's just got really big energy. So being around her just like lights me up. It rejuvenates me. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean by like extrovertedness is like being around like just happiness, I guess. Happiness, humor, playfulness. I really love that. I lean into that a lot.
Well, as you mentioned that, I'm thinking the Annabelle that I know, yes, you are a big personality, but it's not loud.
Mm.
You come across as like being very calm, and you really do. I don't know if you're aware of that, but you come across as calm and really pulled together, and then you just go, okay. And then you pull us all together. But
Oh, I love that.
it's not the expected really big. And I was gonna, ask you that. Do you think that's partly of as identifying? You said Hispanic, I call say Latina, whatever, however we want to call it.
Yeah.
Because my family's like that too. On my Latino side, it's like we're always joking, we're always laughing, we're always, the loud people in the restaurant.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's yeah.
and so part of it is culture, but it's not limited to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's that. I don't think I've been to well, I would say if I'm in professional settings, then yes, I do try to, keep a poised, professional, kind of energy and look. But but don't catch me out with my family member or my cousins because it's a whole different energy. So
Right.
I think it's knowing I'm really big on professionalism. I think that that's really, really important because that's the way that you're respected, especially as a woman of color. I've just had to learn that to be in spaces like that. But I think this other part of me is loud and, just laugh. I have a very loud laugh, even in professional settings. Sometimes it can be very loud. Funny enough, I was made fun of when I was younger for how loud I was. And I think that subconsciously also made me kind of be really aware of like how loud am I being? How disrespectful is this to others, right? So we got to find the right space. I guess it's knowing the space as well.
Yeah, that's true. Knowing the space, finding the balance, not necessarily shifting it to assimilate or, make sure that we are packageable, but still finding
Right.
that way to be our authentic self is, I think it's so imperative and crucial
Yeah.
to, being a woman in this day. And I find that sometimes that's a little bit of a challenge for us because we've been told our whole life, you X, Y, and Z equals A, B, and C, and that's
Yeah.
acceptable. And part of the reason that I'm having these conversations is that we can, I don't have a hammer, but we take a hammer to some of those things. And you can be
Yeah.
authentically Annabelle and I can be authentically Chelsea. But it is a lifelong growing and learning process because one day I'm like, oh, I got myself handled on this. And then the next day I'm feeling like, oh, I don't know how well, I don't feel very secure in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
falling
I
on
mean,
you there now.
even to keep on the theme, right? Like even authenticity is quality of life because
Yeah.
if you can't be authentic, if you aren't able to show up, and not in all spaces, but in most spaces with your full authentic self, then yeah, you're not going to have quality of life. It's actually going to be other people's quality of life that you're constantly looking after, right?
Yeah. And so with your work with trauma, I know that those things don't equate. A lot of the times when we are still operating out of the unhealed trauma, we can't be our unhealed self,
Yep.
right? And um, the the challenge and the goal is to be able to pull that out, right? That's what you do. You help people pull that out so that they can live their full selves. And I love that. I love what you do. I love
Yeah.
what you do partly because you, and I know you have a gift for it, but I also love what you do because I'm like, I've been on that path too, and I've gotten to see the other side of it of, ooh, that person down there that was, in pain a lot and not really knowing how to live through life and really struggling in relationships is a part of me, but no longer the main part of me. And
Yeah.
that's because of the work that I've done in trauma therapy.
Hmm.
And I think that the talk therapy is great, but when we are in, and you even mentioned this before recently, I think I saw this in your workshop, but how talk therapy can only go so far when we know that we've got some unhealed trauma. And
Yeah.
so I'm a big promoter of like, you need to be in trauma therapy. Like if I see it, how we know something because we've been through
Yeah.
it, we can see it in other people. Trauma therapy, that's your best friend.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer, and this is probably why I like EMDR so much, is that we can't even get to the authentic part or to even trauma healing without creating safety in the body. And the
Yeah.
way that we create safety is like through our nervous system. And so that is a big part of how I've been able to show up authentically, even in spaces where I'm like, not I'm feeling a little awkward or I'm feeling a little weird. Being able to regulate has really given me the
Yeah.
confidence to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Regulation. It's amazing. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and Brene Brown was on it. And she was speaking to something where she was kind of calling out like the overuse of the word trauma
Mm,
and saying that a lot of people are calling something trauma when in fact it's just adversity.
mm,
And that's kind of stuck with me a little bit because as someone who's been through major trauma, I find sometimes I'm like, that wasn't really traumatic, but it was traumatic to you, right? And so can you share a little bit more about what that looks like for you and how you know it to be?
yeah, that is a really interesting perspective, and I think that the words could overlap. I would say the thing that distinguishes them is adversary is anything that creates a lot of stress, right? That is really difficult, that's really hard, that you're having a lot of challenges with. Trauma is an event that brings up those same amount of feelings, but that ends up affecting you after in various ways. So it's almost like it stays with you and it creates those negative beliefs to the
Hmm.
point where you're unable to really function in your normal state. Adversary, you can kind of get through it and then operate as normal. It was just like difficult in the moment,
Yes.
right? Whereas trauma,
Yes.
gonna have that after effect, and
Yes.
even lasting for years,
Yes.
right?
And so I think maybe what I understand what you're saying is just because we've had a not easy life or we've had hardships in our life as we were growing up, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was trauma, but doesn't mean that it wasn't trauma, right? It gets right. So it
Yeah.
ends up being a little bit of a fine line. And either way, though, it's worth exploring if we're finding ourselves in places where here's I'll just share a little bit about my journey. So what had happened to me before I realized what was going on is I would play things in my head over and over and over again, and I didn't realize that that wasn't like I couldn't let things go. That's just
Mm,
one example. I couldn't, I would, and it was one of the things where I couldn't stop it and I didn't know when it was going to happen. And
mm,
so to me, that was a sign of there was a little bit of trauma versus something just being really hard and it was a challenge, like starting a new business is really hard.
yeah.
It's not traumatizing me though.
Yes. Yes.
I do
Exactly.
wake up in the middle of the night thinking about my business, but
That is just that comes with the title.
yes.
But yes, that would be adversary, or I don't know if I'm
Adversity
pronouncing that adversary. Yeah.
with a
That would
T. Yeah.
be the struggle,
Yes.
right? Versus like trauma. And when you're talking about those earlier experiences, that's where it gets tricky because your childhood is like your development stages. So even if something was just hard, if there's not support, if there is not language to describe what's happening, if there is no tools, then that in itself could very much turn into something that's traumatic.
That's a uh, beautiful way of explaining it that I think makes it easier to understand and just breaking down that question that I had. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is there anything else that you would like to share or talk about before we close out? And you can say no if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we got to speak a lot about, my own quality of life as well as the work that I do. So thank you for allowing me to speak on that a little bit. And I guess I would just say to your audience, I mean, being able to listen to this podcast, doing your own inner work, I mean, that's really where your power is.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about empowerment and self-growth and mindset, but like if you don't feel like you have power in your own life, that is where I see a lot of my clients struggle with. And so I would say keep doing the work and keep pouring into yourself.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again for being here. And I look forward to seeing you very soon, probably in a couple weeks at our next bestie thing.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Here's a recap of the women I've spoken to in season 2. Brie Vizcaína. She brings people together to help a forgotten population become equipped for a second chance.
Felt so like bogged down by this anxiety of like how I was perceived, the impact I had, not really letting my heart and intention calm those things.
Yeah.
And so now I find myself...
Jessica Suzanne, pathfinder, encourager, and teacher of the art of self-reclamation through divine love.
Hey, maybe, just maybe, maybe I am more than I've been taught. Maybe I have more in me. Maybe I have more, power than I've let myself believe. And I'm going to have faith, that I am meant for big things and that I have big things inside of me, right?
Krista Kelly, purpose-driven leader and lifelong advocate for women and community development.
Yourself too thin, you really become less present. You become, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you become less strategic. You become less proactive, more reactive. You become less visionary because you're stuck in the weeds, you're stuck in the day-to-day. Quality of life also means like
Ava Trujillo, sharing her love for organic beauty while thriving in important everyday moments.
Those 3 will get you through anything, man. And when you're in, because life is like this, right? Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. I find that those 3 things will get you through anything.
Monique Patton, on a mission to create unfiltered conversations about women's wellness, sex, aging, and more.
In our brains, oxytocin, dopamine, epinephrine, all these things, right? It is total body stress relief. It improves our sleep, improves our cardiovascular health. It improves our depression levels.
And Anabell Arias, fostering a path for healing and thriving lives through leadership and dedication.
All these little things that are super important, the minute that starts falling to the wayside, I know that I need to pull back and scale back. And sometimes that just means saying, I can't, and saying no.
I hope you've enjoyed this season as much as I have. Be sure to subscribe and not miss a thing. Season 3 will be coming soon. And I encourage you to have those talks, ask those questions with the people in your life. There is so much more to talk about.